Hey everyone, join us by subscribing to our channel for heart-pounding, real-life firefighter rescue stories that dive deep into courage and humanity. Every video brings you closer to the front lines, revealing the raw emotions and heroic moments that define these brave souls. Don't miss out on these gripping tales of bravery. Hit that subscribe button now and become part of our community. In the heart of a city that never sleeps, amidst the symphony of honking horns and distant chatter, Jackson sat quietly in the firehouse kitchen, sipping his morning coffee. The room was filled with the usual banter of his fellow firefighters, the smell of freshly brewed coffee, mingling with the distant aroma of bacon cooking on a griddle. The walls of the firehouse bore the stories of past fires, lined with photographs capturing moments of triumph and loss. Despite the chatter around him, Jackson was lost in thought, reflecting on the incident that had shaken him to his core. He had been a firefighter for over a decade, with many successful rescues under his belt, yet the one that went wrong lingered in his mind, like a shadow refusing to fade. He wore the uniform of his profession with pride, the sturdy fabric rough against his skin, a testimony to years of service. His hands, always steady in the face of danger, wrapped around the mug, warming fingers that had pulled many from the brink. The firehouse was more than just a place of work. It was a second home, a sanctuary filled with camaraderie. The men and women here were his family, bound by mutual respect and shared adversity. Yet, despite the laughter and the reassuring presence of his colleagues, Jackson often felt a distance, a chasm created by his own expectations, and the haunting memories of a rescue gone wrong. His colleagues respected him for his skills and dedication, but Jackson knew he needed something more, a personal redemption. On days like these, between the calm before the inevitable storm of duty, Jackson found solace in routine. Fixing equipment, polishing helmets until they gleamed, and reviewing safety protocols were tasks that kept his mind from straying too far into the past. His eyes, deep and reflective, often trailed to the window, watching the city's skyline, wondering when the next call would challenge their resolve. He understood the unpredictable nature of their duty, the ever-present possibility of chaos erupting into their day. As he contemplated with a silent vow to himself, the loud, familiar crackle of the loudspeaker came to life. The firehouse filled with an urgency that seemed to electrify the air, a call they all anticipated, yet never fully got used to. Jackson stood up, his body responding to the call of duty, ready to face whatever lay ahead. The alarm rang through the firehouse, its shrill tones slicing through the morning air like a blade, bringing an abrupt end to the morning routine. Jackson's heart, though accustomed to such calls, picked up a familiar rhythm, a mix of anticipation and trepidation. Voices that just moments ago shared laughter now shifted to clarity and precision, as each firefighter moved with determined purpose to their stations. As the dispatcher's voice crackled through the overhead speakers, details of the emergency filtered in: a high-rise building engulfed in flames, with reports of a child trapped on one of the upper floors. The news gripped Jackson's soul, the urgency of the situation obliterating any lingering morning haze. His mind raced through mental checklists, even as his hands mechanically grabbed his gear, each piece falling into place with well-practiced ease. Around him, the firehouse hummed with synchronized chaos, the air charged with resolve and a palpable sense of unity among the crew. Fire engines roared to life, their sirens blaring a symphony of urgency as they pulled out of the station. Inside the truck, Jackson and his colleagues sat in hushed concentration, the weight of the impending rescue pressing down upon them. They focused on the details barked out over the radio, each piece of information honing their collective concentration to a razor-sharp edge. The city blurred past the windows, a whirlwind of concrete and steel as they raced toward the heart of the emergency. Jackson's thoughts flickered back to the child, his mind instinctively bridging the gap between his own turmoil and the desperate situation unfolding ahead. Somewhere in the mix of doubt and determination, he found himself wondering if this could be the moment that broke the chains of his earlier failure. The fire engine weaved through traffic with precision, lights flashing a stark red against the gray of the city morning while its siren howled with a primal urgency. Approaching the scene, the sky above the building was a swirling mix of dark smoke and fiery light, a daunting, yet familiar landscape. Yet amidst the darkening plumes, Jackson could make out the silhouettes of people pointing and shouting from windows several floors above. As the vehicles screeched to a halt, the firefighters erupted from their trucks in a flurry of determined motion, like pieces of a living engine. Each team member knew their role, moving seamlessly in response to shouted commands. Jackson found his breath evening out, a controlled composure settling over him as he surveyed the chaotic scene. Flames licked hungrily at the building's steel bones, but it was the unseen peril within heat, smoke, and fear that loomed largest in his mind. Escaping a passing thought, Jackson steeled himself for the challenge ahead. He could see figures in the windows, faces sown with panic and hope, eyes pleading for salvation. As his fellow firefighters unfurled hoses, set up ladders, and began their descent into the alcove of fire, Jackson tightened his grip on the radio, accepting the reality of his task. The memory of the failed rescue flickered like an old film reel at the back of his mind, but the present urgency was all-consuming. The world around him faded, leaving just the raging flames, the cries for help, and a single aching promise. Today, redemption was not a distant dream. As the fire engine barreled through the congested streets, the interior of the truck was transformed into a quiet theater of personal contemplation and collective resolve. Jackson, seated among his comrades, felt the vibrations of the siren through his chest, harmonizing with the pounding of his heart. The usually vibrant chatter of the team was replaced by a weighty silence, punctuated only by the crisp instructions crackling over the radio. Each firefighter was lost in his or her own thoughts, mentally cycling through safety protocols and rehearsing the countless drills they had practiced. Jackson's mind, however, found itself wandering down pathways of what-ifs, tracing the lines between past failures and the steep opportunity for redemption that lay ahead. He imagined the child's face, painted with fear yet capable of trust, a beacon urging him forward. Around him, his team adjusted their helmets and tightened their gloves, their preparations marked by a series of focused, deliberate movements. It was a routine as essential as breathing, rooting each of them in a shared purpose that transcended the individual. In this reverent silence, words were unnecessary. They all understood the stakes. Lives hung in the balance, waiting for their intervention. Jackson turned inward, sifting through fragments of doubt and courage, assembling them into a mental framework for the challenge ahead. An undercurrent of anxiety rippled through him, tethered to deeply buried memories of past rescues, both triumphant and tragic. Yet, amidst that tumult, his duty formed a solid foundation, grounding him in the present. With each mile, the fluctuating landscape of the city framed his thoughts, glimpses of everyday life quickly overtaken by the gravity of their mission. As the engine turned a corner, the skyline came sharply into focus, the plumes of smoke twisting into an ominous premonition of the challenges they faced. The moment felt suspended in time, a flicker of eternity stretched across a heartbeat as the crew steeled their minds against the infernal tableau that awaited them. Conflicting emotions collided within Jackson, yet, through the tempest, he latched onto a singular truth. His presence in the truck, among this unwavering band of brothers and sisters, was exactly where he needed to be. The wheels skidded slightly as they pulled to a halt in proximity to the raging inferno, the diminished roar of the engine replaced by the chaotic symphony of the disaster. Across the truck, Jackson caught the eyes of his lieutenant, a steely nod exchanged, affirming both responsibility and trust in their capacity to alter fate's course. The team's murmured affirmations and mental rallies culminated in synchronized motion as they exited the vehicle, stepping into the cacophony of the scene. The building loomed ahead, a monolithic structure marred by flames, its windows darkened by smoke and shadows. Surreal in its ferocity, the blaze was an adversary, demanding all their skill and resolve, a stark reminder of nature's indifferent power. But amid the chaos, amid the fire's hungry incandescence and those trapped within, lay the quiet promise of hope, a testament to their sworn creed. Standing at that precipice, Jackson and his colleagues entered a realm where time seemed to bend, compressed by the thundering urgency of lives awaiting salvation. As he prepared to step inside the burning citadel, he took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the world recede, momentarily displaced by the brilliance of determined resolve. The scene that greeted Jackson and his team was one of barely contained chaos, the air thick with smoke and the metallic taste of adrenaline. The high-rise stood like a beleaguered sentinel engulfed in flames, its glass and steel facade shimmering with heat. Embers danced in the air, a frenetic ballet against the backdrop of billowing smoke that blotted the morning sun into an eerie twilight. Firefighters, paramedics, and law enforcement formed a cordon around the building, directing the flow of people away from the escalating danger. Jackson and his crew were immediately briefed by the incident commander, who painted a grim picture. There were multiple floors engulfed, and the likelihood of structural instability was growing by the minute. People still trapped inside elevated the urgency, their outlined silhouettes visible through the hazy windows above, some waving frantically for help while others crouched low, clinging to diminishing hope and whispered prayers for rescue. The cacophony of sirens, barking orders, and the crackling fire filled Jackson's ears as he assessed the inferno. His eyes moved methodically over the building, mapping a mental course and calculating risks, his instincts honed by years of experience. Radios crackled around him, voices overlapping in a discordance of updates, calls for additional water pressure, and pleas for backup units. The expansive drama of a massive blaze, interlaced with the desperate human elements at stake, created a surreal patchwork of crisis. Prioritizing a rescue mission over extinguishing efforts, the team formulated a plan. Jackson and two others would ascend to the upper floors, focus on extracting those trapped, while the remaining team would suppress exterior flames to buy them time and stabilize the scene on the ground. Clad in heavy gear and equipment, they moved with a balance of swiftness and caution, every motion deliberate, every step laden with the intent to preserve life. Flanked by his teammates, Jackson approached the building with the single-minded determination of a man with a purpose clearer than the smoke that surrounded him. An interior staircase offered their safest access, albeit clogged with debris and shadows. As they ascended, time fragmented into the rhythm of boots on metal steps, the echo of their passage mingling with muted cries and the oppressive roar of the fire above. Each floor presented new challenges, the winding maze of corridors and smoke-choked rooms a testament to the fire's fierce encroachment. Yet, Jackson pushed forward, a stoic lighthouse amidst the crashing storm, aware of every second passing, every life hanging by, these moments teetering on the brink. Familiar procedures, checking doors, calling out to those sheltering within, took on an amplified gravity, a sacred ritual clothed in urgency. It was an echo of the commitment he'd made long ago, when he first donned the fireman's helmet, and his heart beat with the rhythm of resolve. The inferno ahead pulsed with the fiery promise of redemption, and Jackson's soul roared back with the strength of an implacable conviction. Today, they would bring them home. With each passing floor, the ascent proved increasingly perilous, the heat rising in suffocating waves that curled around Jackson and his teammates like invisible tendrils, seeking to drag them into the abyss. The cacophony of the building's distress, groaning steel and popping glass, resonated through their boots as they advanced upwards. Their breathing apparatuses were lifelines in this hellish landscape, the rhythmic hiss of their breathing punctuating the oppressive roar of the flames. Jackson's senses were on high alert, his mind a finely tuned instrument navigating the chaos. He led his team with practiced efficiency, trusting their skills, and relying on the unspoken bond that existed between them. The plan was clear, each minute carefully allocated to scouring floors and guiding the trapped to safety. They moved through the smoke-laden corridors, checking rooms and calling out, their voices cutting through the haze in a desperate summons for anyone left behind. Shadows leapt across the walls as they illuminated the way with their flashlights, revealing scenes of disarray, fallen furniture, abandoned belongings, and the haunting remnants of daily lives interrupted. On one of the higher floors, they encountered their first survivors, a group of office workers huddled in an office corner, eyes wide with fear and hope intermingled. Jackson quickly assessed the scene, offering reassurance and methodically directing the group towards the stairwell they had secured moments prior. Moments like these ignited an undying resolve within him, the connection between duty and humanity renewed with each life, steered from harm's path. As they pressed on to the next floor, echoes of distress calls guided their way, a haunting signal beneath the dominant hum of destruction. Following the sounds, Jackson's team urgently navigated the disorienting labyrinth of smoke and flame. They reached the source, a door jammed halfway open, behind which a child's cries pierced the veil of blackened air. With the combined strength of his team, Jackson forced the door open, revealing a young boy blinking through tears and smoke. His small frame stood far braver than his years, an embodiment of unwavering trust that struck a chord deep within Jackson's heart. Bending down to meet the boy's fearful gaze, Jackson's vision blurred momentarily, his heart captured by the unscripted confidence placed in him. He spoke with gentle encouragement, assuring safety as he enveloped the boy within the protective cocoon of his arms. Coaxing an indomitable spirit in all they had rescued, Jackson and his team continued their downward trajectory, the path now well trodden with hope where there had been peril. With every step back towards the relative safety below, clinging to the rhythm of respirators and whispering their silent promises of life anew, the physical exhaustion fell to the background in the light of something far greater, the will to ensure they returned with everyone accounted for. As they emerged into the fresh air, faces soot-smeared yet triumphant, the world around them seemed to pause, perfectly steeped in the profound, stunning clarity that accompanied redemption. Just as Jackson surfaced with the young boy in his arms, a new urgency swept over the scene like a smothering wave, propelled by frantic shouts from a colleague further inside the building. An elderly resident was reportedly trapped on one of the floors they had just cleared. Jackson's heart sank, realizing the dire possibility that smoke and flames could have forced her from one location to another. Time stretched thin, each moment potentially magnifying the risk of the building's structural instability. A distant crash echoed threateningly from within, a menacing reminder of their tenuous window of opportunity. Instinctively, Jackson exchanged a glance with his accompanying team members, their shared resolve summoned in silent concord, a pact to plunge back into the fiery labyrinth lying in wait. Though physically drained from the previous rescue, determination surged anew, propelling them into action. They passed the boy to medical attendants poised to provide united care, channeling emotional balance into the assurance that their effort was far from over. Navigating the spiraled stairwell, enveloped once more in the suffocating intensity of smoke, Jackson led his team back towards the heart of danger. Each step marked time slipping away, the resonant clanging of their boots, a persistent heartbeat against the narrative of urgency. They tore through corridors scoured moments before, seeking any nook or cranny that might harbor the frightened resident. The sound of their radios crackled intermittently with shared coordinates and updates, a lifeline threading through the cacophony of their surroundings. Finally, their search converged upon a cloakroom hidden behind a door nearly obscured by fallen beams. There, Jackson spotted a figure through the smoke, her silhouette painted in shadows trembling against the fire glow. Her frail form huddled beneath a soaked towel, instinctively shielding herself from the pervasive smoke. Time bore heavily upon Jackson's shoulders, compelling him forward with renewed urgency. Communication with the woman was hindered by the fire's roar, but Jackson's intentions flowed clearly through calming gestures. Meticulous speed was necessary as he guided her toward the stairwell, his voice a constant anchor in the storm. As they descended, the world around them unfurling as an ominous concerto of creaks and crashes, Jackson shepherded his charge with the precision demanded by the situation's escalating peril. The woman's eyes remained wide, with a blend of fear and hope, her trust clinging to Jackson's unwavering countenance. He could feel the building's distress seep into the atmosphere, translating urgency into each calculated movement. Flames licked at their passage, heating the walls to an almost unendurable intensity. His team flanked the pair, maintaining vigilance for further encroaching dangers, edges sharpened by necessity. The sequence of steps, turn, guide, brace, became a rhythmic mantra in Jackson's mind as they progressed closer to safety. Finally, bursting through the building's entrance, amid a fresh team of responders ready to relieve them, the outside world seemed to explode into reality. Cool air swept across the group in a rejuvenating embrace, seeming to wash away layers of gravest tension, leaving behind only immense gratitude. With the elderly woman securely conveyed to safety, Jackson inhaled deeply, his chest filled with the buoyancy of recaptured time, reflecting the profound strength found within this cornerstone of human endeavor known as rescue. As Jackson emerged once more into the relative safety outside the inferno, the fresh air rushed to fill his lungs, a cleansing wave that momentarily washed away the grime of tension and ash. Despite the brief reprieve, an internal battle persisted, a tumult of emotions roiling beneath the surface as he turned to help a fellow firefighter stabilize a rescue line. The blaze's devastation sprawled before him, a vast canvas where life and loss intertwined, each choice assuming gravity under firelit skies. His successes, the boy and the elderly woman, were tangible restorations that fortified their mission. Yet, as Jackson's eyes lingered on the chaos still unfolding, an insidious companion lingered in the shadows of his mind: doubt. It clawed at the edge of his consciousness, resurrecting memories of past moments, when factors beyond control had turned victories into near defeats. The tangible nature of life ringing in his peripheral vision. Families reunited, comrades tending to the injured, quietly warred with a gnawing question: were those saved lives merely circumstantial? In the hazy light filtering through layers of smoke, the moral calculus, an invisible ledger tallied with lives touched and those irrevocably changed, became agonizingly clear. Jackson's responsibility as a firefighter was pragmatic: to rescue, to save. Yet each choice, each split-second decision bore ethical weight too ponderous to ignore. It was the burden of determining who came first, when all should be equal, recognizing when a scenario shifted from a rescue to a recovery. As much as his training honed quick judgment, the echo of past failures lingered, a ghostly reminder of fallibility amidst the illusion of control. Lost in this rumination while observing the tireless motions of his colleagues around him, Jackson understood with painful clarity that unspoken truths often guided the path through flames: the integrity to choose and act, acknowledging limitations while striving to surpass them. This sobering thought lingered like a shadowy weight on his resolve. Firefighting wasn't just about quelling physical fires. It was a relentless engagement with personal fear, a testament to accepting one's own humanity. A sharp call through the radio jolted Jackson back into the immediate present, tethering his consciousness to the world of ash and urgency. Another structural assessment demanded quick attention. Reports of newly trapped occupants on a faltering level added another layer to the already fraught circumstances. Without hesitation, Jackson moved into action once more, steady hands readying gear, his heart a resolute cadence against the tempest of doubt. As he sprinted toward his next assignment, essential tasks set his resolve into an unbreakable rhythm, each letting him refocus on the simple, unyielding truth that defined his duty: to be present, committed, and prepared for any eventuality. The roar of the flames provided both the setting and catalyst for the unfolding paradox: pausing life to save it, acknowledging error yet striving for grace amid chaos. This was his commitment: to embrace rather than ignore these moments defining the essence of his soul's journey. Through his resolve, Jackson reaffirmed that while doubt might occasionally darken his path, courage, deep, informed, and renewed, would forever ignite his way forward. As Jackson charged back into the heart of the blaze, renewed determination unfurling with each stride, He felt the weight of his calling settle into an unshakable focus. The intensity of the fire had escalated, flames now hungrily consuming, cresting through floors like a ceaseless wave seeking to claim everything in its path. The building moaned and groaned under the stress, each sound a violent testament to its gradual surrender. The radios crackled continuously, chaotic requests and updates, weaving a frenetic tapestry of urgency and caution. At that very moment, Jackson found himself enveloped in a crucial juncture. The precipice where either metal or frailty would dictate the hours to come. Nearing the area needing assessment, he quickly appraised the critical damage. Support beams dangerously compromised, threatening imminent collapse within the span of breaths. Yet amid this overture of destruction, a spark of hope materialized. A determined voice crackled through the static, reporting safe passage confirmed to a cluster of occupants isolated on the 15th floor. This pinpoint of light, emerging from the shifting abyss, brought focus to the path ahead, a breakthrough initiative. Namely, an opportunity to galvanize resources swiftly for guaranteed evacuation. The resolution that thrummed through his core resonated outward toward his teammates, their solidarity, an unbreakable chain in the face of adversity. In the synchronized mindset only fostered by kinship within the crucible of crisis, they honed practical strategy with an elegant precision forged in fire. Equipment was coordinated, and a well-rehearsed dance set swings of purpose into motion. Firefighters trusted to navigate discernible routes, providing channels for swift egress. And through it all, Jackson retained the guiding principle of courage coupled with awareness, a mirroring exercise where inner focus aligned with a keen tactical consideration for the lives entrusted into their care. Navigating the maze of smoke, Jackson and his team, each bearing markers of their unwavering commitment, plunged toward the rescue, persistence embodied in their synchronized depths. The sheer dynamic collaboration cascaded through narrow stairways and arduous hallways, momentum sculpted by a united determination anchoring the entire operation. As they neared the isolated group, pressing forward with every exertion, there was a noticeable calm lifting across the resolve of those gathered. Jackson issued words of encouragement, anchoring courage within the fear-stricken, the assurance echoing through his forceful yet measured directions. Those trapped residences, now hostages to circumstance, found echoed strength in the steady presence of their rescuers. The transformation from paralysis to liberation unfolded in deliberate steps forward. Visceral relief replaced what had been despair. In that fateful prescriptive moment, the culmination of efforts underscored an arch above them, one marked not merely by fear or doubt but by synthesis, humanity's embrace of strength interconnected and manifest. Through corridors suffocated by trial, liberation was holding sway, the ethos of rescue, enshrining early light that punctuated through each survival in shimmering duality. No longer tethered by self-imposed burden, Jackson comprehended his alignment. Bravery sprawled beyond the collective redemption of saving lives. It bore testament to recovery, a newfound sense resting with the crossroads of determination and transformation realized. As they emerged into the rejuvenating light of the world beyond fire's shadow, a silent triumph pulsed powerfully through his veins. They had forged a breakthrough, stepping through adversity into the promise of rescues fulfilled, emerging from the breathing intensity of the inferno into the vibrancy of life replenished by cool, invigorating air. The rescued clutched tightly to safety offered by outstretched hands. Jackson, flanked by his team, ushered each survivor into the orbit of waiting medical personnel who quickly sprang into action, embedding reassurance in every motion. Faces once knitted with fear and grit began to unravel into expressions of gratitude and fragile smiles, messages across an unspoken language bridging the harrowing divide from vulnerability to vitality. Red and blue light strobed across the scene, an omnipresent reminder that while danger had receded, its shadow still lingered in hearts races begun and halted on the firmament of sheer resolve. Jackson inhaled deeply, his chest swelling with the satisfaction of purpose fully met as he surveyed the soot-covered faces around him, finding echoes of his own determination mirrored there. Standing among his comrades, each bearing their own testament to the battle fought, there was an unbroken thread weaving them together, a tapestry of tenacity and triumph, fortifying the ranks forged in fire's crucible. The team's regrouping was punctuated by firm handshakes, tight embraces, and words exchanged that required no articulation outside of knowing glances. The gratitude of the rescued reinforced a shared purpose, bearing witness to their collective endeavor as glowing affirmation glowing amidst the subdued chaos. For Jackson, the rescue faced had given form and focus to his introspection, his navigation of fear underscored by a renewed comprehension of a strength he hadn't realized cradled at the core of him. It was a lesson written in smoke and fire, inked into the very marrow of his existence, a resounding reminder that courage lay not in absence of fear but in action amidst it. As the day's cavernous fatigue slowly settled into familiar companionship, surrounding the team with an all-embracing heaviness, the backdrop of smoldering remnants framed their silhouettes, guardians for fleeting peace, protectors of human spirit. Yet this encumbrance was offset by a lighter feel, a buoyant essence tracing through their lives with the awareness of redemption realized in moments where individuals touched infinity and enacted enduring change. Jackson felt its rhythmic pulse resonate deeply, finding peace in knowing that he belonged unequivocally to this cadre, a brotherhood of fearless warriors that scoffed unrelentingly into adversity. Regrouped, they readied themselves under the fading light, prepared for the next call that would summon them forth again into steadfast vigilance. They stood shoulder to shoulder, cradled in the unyielding embrace of the profession, animated by a profound commitment to the lives delivered anew, and the certification of hope that waits on the horizon. The firefighters took in the scene one final moment, grounding themselves in the breadth of what had been achieved, emboldened once again to answer the call. As twilight deepened around the hushed scene, the once roaring chaos now reduced to tendrils of smoke whispering against a darkening sky, the true emotional weight of the day began to settle. Jackson stood slightly apart from his team, taking slow, deliberate breaths that mingled with the cool evening air, each exhalation a reminder of the life still pulsing within his chest. The physical exertion of the day's ordeal had left its mark. His hands trembled subtly, echoing the aftershocks of adrenaline, dissipating its long-held grip, now leaving only the raw reality of all they had faced. Around him, the remnants of the fire glowed faintly like watchful embers. His gaze tracing their flicker drew him into a quiet, contemplative conversation with the unspoken elements of this shared journey. For behind the steadiness of his professional resolve lay the turbulent eddy of emotions that had accompanied him moment for moment and now begged acknowledgement. The weight of every life touched, each person saved today, formed an irrefutable tapestry against his memory, their originally distressed faces now painted over with gratitude forever etched within his mind. The promise of their continued existence imprinted an unexpected fullness, overlaid by the whisper of what might not have been. Beside him, among the soft murmurs and distant meek wails of ambulances, stood his fellow firefighters, each wrapped in their own private reflections, staring into the fading light, intermittently catching each other's eyes, dipping their heads in unvoiced solidarity. It was their communal temple, a sanctuary born anew from adversity, one where glances held stories and shoulders brushed silent support. Despite an overt and vulnerable acknowledgement of bodily fatigue, they bore an unmistakable buoyancy, knowing they had answered a vital call. It was a scene fraught with so much unsaid, yet punctuated by shared understanding, unwavering and implicitly acknowledged by comrades who had faced the fire together. Standing amidst the debris and the quiet hum of post-crisis reflection, time's tapestry slowly wound its threads around Jackson's consciousness, a weaving of past incidents, present victories, and hopes for unwritten challenges of tomorrow. Each breath he took seemed more measured, each heartbeat attuned to the unifying rhythm of his comrades, a blend of personal victory laid over communal trust of equal standing. As the echoes of earlier chaos diminished into the night, Jackson grappled affably with nuances of acceptance, letting experiences of fracture give way to the seamless clarity offered by courage unrestrained. No longer dialogue-bound, emotions became the language, passed as torches between silent compatriots against shadow and beneath sky. The vigorous insistence of their shared task had stripped them bare, reshaping them as curators of life, guardians of the hope born on redemption's wings, a calling endlessly redefined and amplified back into the realm of fire and grace, sealing their commitment unwavering as they steeled themselves anew for whatever lay ahead. The narrative was universal, a legacy of valor, forever speaking to the strength born of facing flames, unyielding and reborn in moments brushed by grace under fire's transformative dance. Back at the fire station, the hum of the engines quieted to a low murmur, the building settling into a reflective calm as the adrenaline of the rescue mission gradually dispersed. The familiar walls felt like a sanctuary, a place where the day's events could be safely unraveled and understood. Jackson and his team gathered in the common room, still wearing traces of their ordeal, evidenced by the soot-streaked gear and weary eyes. Conversation was sparse, the underlying camaraderie speaking volumes without the need for words. As the initial wave of exhaustion ebbed away, one by one, they fell into a routine of dismantling, the ritual stripping of heavy jackets and helmets, cleansing of smoke from their skin and thoughts. It was a time of unwinding, a time when the gravity of their work slowly realigned with the acknowledgement of lives saved and their roles fulfilled. Jackson found a corner of the room and sat down heavily, letting the weight of the day settle around him like a lived-in coat. He gingerly rubbed his hands together, feeling the residual tremor subside as the fullness of the station enveloped him. The muted sounds of laughter from the younger crew members, sharing stories of near misses and successes, mingled with the quieter conversations, older voices discussing the mechanics of what had transpired, ways to improve for next time. Amidst these interactions, Jackson's mind wandered back to fleeting moments of the mission, the faces of those they had saved, the palpable fear that had transformed to relief, and the resilience his team had shown in the face of daunting challenges. It brought a profound sense of capability tempered with humility, and his heart swelled with a quiet pride in being part of such an extraordinary cadre. Inside this breathing space, memories of the day's events stirred, each thread weaving a tapestry that underscored the complexities and rewards of their work. As Jackson replayed these scenes, he felt the tension gradually loosen from his frame, replaced by a more settled resolve that cemented the day's invaluable lessons within him. This introspective pause held not the burden of regret, but the sharpening clarity of wisdom. It was within these sacred moments of reflection that firefighters like Jackson became deeply connected to their higher purpose. Redemption was not merely a distant goal, it was a constant companion on their journey, a guiding presence reshaping each interaction with the flames. It was about understanding that each fire holds myriad lessons, about safety, teamwork, and the unyielding human spirit. With these realizations solidified, he would rise again at dawn, prepared in mind and spirit for the calls that beckon, a commitment to serve, protect, and ultimately bring hope out of chaos. Jackson knew this path was fraught with trial, yet it was one paved with profound truths and unshakable bonds, a journey where courage was constantly reborn amidst the ashes. As the final vestiges of the day receded into the quiet hum of the sleeping city, Jackson found himself drawn once more to the window of the fire station, staring out at the swirling canopy of stars above. Their distant light, piercing the veil of night, seemed to mirror the flickering flame of hope rekindled in each rescue. In this profound solitude, he contemplated the intricate weave of duty and humanity, a tapestry stitched together by acts of courage amid moments of fear, by victories carved from adversity's shadow, and by bonds forged in relentless pursuit of protecting life. The duty of a firefighter, he realized, was more than merely battling flames. It was about embracing the full spectrum of life with open arms, with a heart open to both the triumphs and losses that define the human experience. Amid the pressing demands of service, there lay the invaluable gift of clarity, a gracious perspective on life's fragility and the indelible power of selfless action. The essence of their vocation was deeply rooted in an understanding of interconnectedness, a pledge to stand as vigilant sentinels against the encroaching darkness. In those moments where chaos reigned, Jackson discovered not just the breadth of fearlessness, but the courage to find meaning even among ashes. It was about transforming fear into fuel, doubt into determination, and breathing life back into moments that stood at the brink of oblivion. Faced with heartbreak or hardship on any scale, they rose again, each alarm call echoing a sacred promise to tread where others dare not go. In this honored service, loss and redemption wove themselves into an endless cycle, each reflective silence morphing into a seed of wisdom sown among the stars above and the lives below. Jackson felt a profound gratitude for the chance to serve, understanding that through embracing vulnerability, they transcended it, finding strength in unity and purpose in adversity's wake. As he turned away from the window, bearing the weight and wonder of the day's revelations within him, Jackson stepped back into the warmth of the station's heartbeat. It pulsed with a comforting rhythm, empathic proof of lives altered, saved, and shaped by the promise of duty fulfilled. The lesson, powerfully simple, resonated within, a calling heard loudly across the quiet flame of his determined spirit. It was in these moments that life's true meaning unfolded with brilliant simplicity. It was less about the fires faced in the line of duty and more about the resilience discovered within, the unwavering commitment harmonized with compassion, and the extraordinary power found in ordinary acts of valor. In the end, every life touched, every heart held, and every story shared became fragments of an eternal legacy, an affirmation that the greatest fires were quelled not just by water, but by unwavering humanity. This, then, was their united destiny, to sustain hope, offer redemption, and illuminate paths onward, led forever by a guiding light that burned brightly against adversity's darkest nights.